Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the May 19th edition of Marketing Office Minutes with Jon Turino. And our special guest today, Jeany Park, CEO of Compass Rose Video.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Jeany. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
For those of you who haven't seen this broadcast before or haven't watched the replays, the whole idea is actually for you to log in using Zoom and ask your questions in real time. So if you use the Zoom platform, we'll get you up here and everybody will be able to see you and hear you, and we'll get your questions answered. So with that, let's get started. Jeany, tell me a little bit about Compass Rose Video and what you do there.
Absolutely. So Compass Rose Video, we are a videography and video marketing consultancy company, and we're just under a year old, so we're still fairly new. And we started out serving mostly entrepreneurs, and we still do, but we're also moving into serving small to medium-sized business, actually. And it's just because so much has been coming out about the importance of video and video marketing, and a lot of people know they should be doing it, but they either don't understand really why, and or they need some help in actually making the videos and figuring out a strategy for if they're going to do DIY videos, how to do that and do it effectively so they're actually seeing the return for their business.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. I think it was when we had Robin McKillop on a few weeks back.
Right.
She mentioned the strategy issue, and I think when I had Molly Lucas on talking about website development, she mentioned the strategy issue, and
yes,
it looks like a lot of people are using the ready, fire, aim method instead of the build the strategy first kind of a thing. So
exactly, that's a huge topic because you know, of course, when you're starting out, especially, or when you're trying new things in your business, you do kind of throw spaghetti at the wall a little bit. But as we know, it really comes down to being intentional, really understanding your brand, your ideal client, and getting that message out in a focused way consistently over time. And then you can tweak it, as you need to, as your clients grow, as you grow, or you find out what we've been doing hasn't been working. So where can we tweak it? And then try that for a while. And that's really where you find the success. But a lot of people just kind of get discouraged and give up altogether, or they're just spending so much time and effort in the wrong direction and then wonder why they're not seeing results.
Yeah, I mean, I do the marketing strategy consulting where I help people figure out what their target markets really are and what messages will resonate, and then what media is best for delivering it. Clearly, video is one of the best media for getting that across.
Exactly.
It's a lot more interaction on Facebook and LinkedIn, and YouTube is the hugest repository for video knowledge. It's incredible the amount of information you can find up there.
It is, and you're right. It's really about the video interacting on social media and how that's interacting with your followers. But because of that, it can be very overwhelming. So that's where it's very important to understand where are your people hanging out and how can you best reach them. And a lot of it comes down to analytics. I mean, finding out, looking in your Facebook insights and finding out, where and when your posts are reaching people, and what kind of posts, which kind of videos are really getting your message across. And I do want to talk a little bit about branding.
Okay.
Because, I think a lot of people just, especially as, a lot of us have been, just making videos with the phone or with the laptop and just trying to get started, because it's intimidating for a lot of people because they're afraid of their performance isn't good enough, their messaging is weak, they're not sure what the backgrounds look like, so they're just kind of doing anything. And that's fine to start out with because it's better than nothing. But I think it's very important to take a good look at your clients you're serving and that you want to serve, and your brand. So if your brand is all about luxury, or it's about really playing big, or you're trying to get clients that are already in the 100K and up, not just kind of starting out, then you have to take a look at what your videos are saying and what you're communicating in your video. So So I'd be careful then about making a video with your cell phone where you just have a blank wall behind you and doing that over and over again, week after week, because it's kind of boring to look at. So you want to make sure you're reflecting your particular brand, so that you're telling that story and reaching your clients and giving them content that's really serving them well.
Yeah, I mean, the content is really important. I know that a lot of people make the mistake of just, self-promotion on a regular basis.
Right.
Where providing real information, which is what we try to do in these programs, tends to get a lot more readership or watchership, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other reasons why video is so important to a business these days?
Well, I think that, I mean, statistically, I know that your previous guests have gone over this, but statistically, it really is the best way right now to up-level your business and get in front of as many people as possible. I think that we are just moving towards a culture that is more and more visual, and where, unfortunately, we want to read less and less. We kind of want to watch, and we also have short attention spans. So when we're spending so much time on social media, we're not necessarily reading the 20-page articles or reading through like a 100-page PDF manual about a particular piece of software. We want to go to the person on the video who's going to explain it to us in like 2 to 3 minutes, because there's so much noise online. Everybody's online. All marketing is online. So in order for you to pop, again, you've got to be very intentional and curate very well what that message is and how it's coming across. So I think that's why video is so huge, because it's watchable. Closer to entertainment.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the 2 to 3 minutes. What do you think is the ideal length for videos, Jeany?
Well, it really depends on what the format is. So I always tell people that for videos that are on your website, you do want to keep it under 2 minutes. Okay. Because statistically speaking, if people see that your videos are longer than 2 minutes, they will click away not only from your video, but also from the website.
Oh, wow.
So you really want to keep those short. Now, there are different kind of formats for different, reasons. So for example, if you already have a devoted following, and say that you're an expert at such and such thing, like say that you're a Salesforce expert and you are doing tutorials on YouTube, for example, and people really want to know, how do I use this tool? You might get away with longer format videos because you've got a captive audience. So those could be a lot longer,
Okay.
5, 10, 15 minutes. Live streaming is, I'm sure we'll get into live streaming a little bit, but it's becoming more and more popular. And because of the cool factor, and often people are live streaming like really interesting things, events, or they're with somebody who's kind of famous, or something that's just like really amusing, those can often be longer too. And you actually want to wait on live streaming for longer than 5 minutes before you go off, because it takes that amount of time to engage your viewers on the social media platform. And that's what you want. It's always about engagement and creating that community and getting that tribe to follow you, because it's that like, no, trust factor. Right. And then they're more likely to buy from you.
Yeah. The format for most of the videos that I tend to watch keeps them about where you said, under 2 minutes, worst case under 3 minutes.
Yep.
And if they get longer than that, you're right. You not only lose them on the video, but you lose them elsewhere.
Exactly.
What about, you mentioned live streaming. What about, what's your feelings about like Periscope versus YouTube live stream versus Blab?
Well, they're all fairly different, because Periscope is the app that works with Twitter. So I'd say that if you aren't big on Twitter, if you don't have a lot of followers, then that may not be the best live streaming venue for you. I actually haven't done a lot of experimenting with the YouTube Live, but I do know Facebook Live pretty well. Okay. Most of my people are on Facebook, so I do Facebook Live more than anything else. And I think it's just very functional, and I think they make it very easy to use. It stays on your page, indefinitely. You can download the file and use it like multi-purpose in a lot of other ways. So Blab is, the nice thing about it is you can have like up to four people on at once. And so it's more of like the video conference. So we could have done this as a Blab, for example, and done it live and had two other people on. But as a just single person, I think it's also, I find it not quite as intuitive and user-friendly. Where it's like very easy just to do like a Facebook Live on your phone and just, you know, it's like 2 clicks and you're in kind of thing. But it's good that there are different options, and it's good to be very clear on, again, who are your people? Where are they hanging out? What is your purpose? Being intentional about what is your message and your purpose for that particular live stream, and then figure out the best platform for you.
Yeah, I mean, platforms are interesting. When I started out doing the Monday Marketing Minutes programs back in October, I was using Google Hangouts.
Right.
And the problem I had with that was that the graphics quality, once it got up to YouTube, was really bad.
Yeah.
So I switched to YouTube live stream, and that did a better job.
It did? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It had higher resolution going up. I experimented a little bit with GoToWebinar and some of the other ones, but I ended up, when I found this Zoom platform, it's intuitive and easy to use. It lets you schedule things and stuff like that. And you know, the issue I had with this versus Blab is that here you could use the widescreen format. With Blab, you're the old square format.
Right.
And then all of these programs, all of these platforms still seem to have the issue that if you want to show graphics and humans at the same time, you get one or the other. Although, like Talk Fusion will put a face into the center bottom of your slide. But I ended up with a little program called XSplit Broadcaster, which lets me put the graphics in and add text and do all that sort of stuff.
Oh, cool. So, I know that I just actually did a Zoom webinar with somebody, and we did, we co-hosted, and then we split, like we would share who was showing their, you know, sharing their screen. But when you do that, you can actually, you do get the little boxes of, you know, whoever's on hosting. So you could see, you know, our face. And so I chose to share my screen. I was talking about video and how you're showing up and stuff like that on video, but you could see my face the entire time because, you know, that's my platform is video, visual, show your face, stop hiding, because people really connect to the personality, to authenticity, and to story. And the more they can, if you are the face and voice of your brand, the more they connect with you, the more they're, you know, likely to buy into your programs and services, which if you're a business, that's what the ultimate goal is.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Jeany. No question about it. Yeah. I posted something the other day on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, an article I read about why people hate to hear their own voices on a recording.
Oh, right.
And I put it up because it reminded me of how uncomfortable I felt in October of last year, for example, trying to do the Monday Marketing Minutes and not only hearing the recorded voice, but watching myself on video.
Right.
And it took 6 months of actual practice to get fairly decent at it. The other issue I found is that looking at the camera is a skill you have to learn rather than, you know, it's easy enough for me to look just a little bit down like this and look at you. Yeah. But it's better off if I'm speaking to make sure I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah. That is a skill. And I mean, if you go back and watch the replay, you'll see that I'm looking at the camera almost 100% of the time, probably 95% of the time. And it's learned because it's a funny thing when you're being framed with the camera, that every little thing becomes magnetized. So in normal conversation, I might kind of like look away, you know, look down. And even if I'm looking a little bit slightly off camera and talking, now I'm like looking at the middle of my screen. It reads like I'm avoiding you, you know?
Right.
So it's magnified. Same thing with fidgeting. So you want to use your hands, but if I'm kind of like, you know, doing this a lot or playing with my hair, it becomes very magnified in a way that's distracting. But to your earlier point too, I love you being vulnerable and transparent about how it was an adjustment for you to get used to hearing yourself and seeing yourself. And that is so common. And that's one of the number one reasons, John, that people won't jump in, because it's so uncomfortable for them. But what I try to coach my clients on is to realize that we are so much tougher on ourselves than other people are about us. This is universally true.
Yes, I
We
believe
focus
that.
on the flaws. That's what we hear and what we see. Other people, the vast majority of people, are focusing on the positives. So that's one thing to hold on to. And the other thing is to realize that it's really a tool. So the more we can kind of disengage our ego, as hard as it is, the more we can look at it like, this is my most powerful tool in content marketing, is the video and my image and the way I sound, my message, to have a little bit of distance. So it's not about being personal. It's really about tools to share, with your audience. And as such, like any tool you're using, if it's your website, your business card, you're going to scrutinize it a little bit. Well, is that really reflecting what I want to say, who I am? You might tweak it, do what you need to do, but you don't shut down and say, screw it, I don't like this website, I'm not going to use a website in my business. No, you have to jump back in and be gentle with yourself and say, okay, that was a good first attempt, and now how can we make this better? And like you, I think you're wonderful in that you model getting in there, trying the new tools, tweaking, putting yourself out there. And, especially because you didn't grow up with all this stuff, right?
That's true. When I grew up, we used 35 millimeter slides to give presentations.
Right.
When I trekked around Europe teaching design for tests, I had 8 carousels of slides with me, and I'd go to, and we'd rent the projectors in the hotel conference rooms, and
right.
Nothing like being able to carry your smartphone and live broadcast it, or aircast it to somebody's big screen TV.
Right. That's amazing. And, that's exactly the way to think about it. It's just like, making videos and putting them up there. It's like creating your slides and your carousel and having your projector and using that as a tool.
Yeah.
So,
you made a comment. I'm losing it a minute here, but you made a comment about being shy or not good enough. That was the point. I encourage my clients all the time to say, listen, when you get up to give a talk, you are the one who knows the most about the subject you're going to talk about. So you've got an audience there that really does want to learn. Okay, every once in a while you get some idiot in there who's going to try to nail you, but the best way to deal with that is, really, tell me more.
Right.
And that'll usually shut them up. Once or twice.
And
but most of us are doing, I know more about this platform now than probably anybody else I know.
That's
personally, because I've used it for all these times. And so I feel pretty comfortable being able to recommend something or do something. And I think people are fairly receptive to that because it's based on real experience and not just either book learning or whatever. So
a lot of us get a little fixated on what is everybody going to think, and what if I don't do a good job, or what if they all think I'm terrible. And it's really not the most helpful way to look at it. I think of it more like you're casting a wide net, like every time you're putting yourself out there, whether it's speaking or with the video, and you're going to get a lot of stuff in your net that is not going to, really be useful to you. However, what you're looking for are those like handful of the fish that you can actually take and, bring home to your family, your village, and like cook up for dinner. So that is kind of what you need to think about. Like, you're looking for those ideal clients who they're looking for you too. And so your message is geared towards them. So usually that's the higher hanging fruit, right? You want people who are ready to go, ready to sign up with you. So you are going to lose a lot of people that you want that. You don't want every tire kicker to be wasting your time. You have to do calls with all those people. And the people who are above you, they're not going to connect with you either because you're not quite there yet, right? If you're lucky, you might get somebody out there who gives you some feedback to help you get better. But that's the hard part, is to sort of separate our ego from that process and realize it's not about having everybody say how amazing you are.
Yeah, right.
You can go out there honestly and fall flat on your face, but if you get one good client out of it, then it's worth your time. I've had talks with like 170 people where I got like 2 clients out of it, but they're amazing clients and who created a lot of revenue for me. So the other 168 people, like maybe they enjoyed the time, maybe they weren't, maybe they're on their phone. You know, I got good feedback that it was valuable, but you know, who cares? Who cares about the people who don't, you know, sign up with you, because they're going to go sign up with somebody else that's better.
Sure. So when you work with clients, how, kind of step by step, can you describe the process a little bit for us, Jeany?
Absolutely. So when we are putting together a video marketing strategy, it really is important for me to understand holistically about their business. You know, so I get a sense of them and their clients, their customers, who they're serving and why, because then I can help them tell their story. And then we look at their whole kind of marketing strategy, because again, you know, I can be throwing like meatballs on the wall, but you know, I need to know the rest of the spaghetti that's there, so we can start saying, okay, let's be more intentional. So I like to know about the whole overall content marketing campaign. If they've used any video before, if so, I like to take a look at it to see where they are. And then we start the conversation around, okay, so how are we going to fold video in for you? How are we going to be intentional for you? What is your brand? So we'll spend a lot of time, what's your brand? What's your ideal client? And how are you showing up? And then really creating a plan strategically around the video. So is it a video blog? Is it tutorials on YouTube? Is it live streaming? Is that going to be your thing? Is it just like random posts on Facebook every once in a while? So getting together a tight calendar, so you know exactly what you're going to do when, you know why you're doing it, and get you the support and the tools you need. That's really important. A lot of people try to do everything by themselves. And, you know, I can't do it all by myself. Like, I have a team that I work with. And so that's really what you need to do. And then after that, I want to overwhelm people, but then we get into, so how are we going to get more views on your videos? Let's look at the analytics. Let's get intentional about how to get more views on your videos, and then track how much money are you making? You know, how much more revenue is it bringing in for you? So that's the whole kind of step-by-step process. And that's what it takes in order to do it effectively, and not just make a couple of videos, put it up and say, yeah, I'm doing video.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, and it just reminded me of what it was that I had lost that thought earlier about measuring. So few people actually measure their marketing results. And you know, with email, it's A/B testing, and with, you know, you can use your Google Analytics if you've set things up right. Facebook has insights, LinkedIn has statistics, and if you don't pay attention to those things, you're really missing out on the ability to fine-tune what you're doing and make it better.
Right. Exactly. And I know how it is. You know, sometimes I forget to do it because I get so busy. You have to take the time to track, because that will tell you what is connecting, what's making you money, and what isn't. And if you're just too busy or you don't like that kind of thing, you know, you can outsource it. And that's a really smart place to put some dollars. So if you're putting all this time and energy into it, you might as well make sure that it's actually, you're getting your ROI out of it. Yeah.
If people don't have the resources, the money to outsource and hire a professional like yourself, do you have a few tips here and there for them improving their own do-it-yourself videos?
Well, yeah. I mean, the one tip that I'd really like to share is to take a look at your branding. I mean, actually write it out. You know, what is your branding? Are you about luxury? Are you about no nonsense? Are you is what you mostly do teach? And to take a look at your other materials and see if that's resonating. And then for your videos, to really be intentional about how is your video reflecting and an extension of your brand. So that includes taking a look at, you know, your background, taking a look at your wardrobe, your messaging, and doing a little diagnostic for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I mean, paying attention to your background is one of the easiest things you can do, and you don't need a professional for that. But also do your homework. Go online, go on Facebook, go on YouTube, and see what are other people doing. How are their brands being reflected in their videos? Who's doing it well? Who's not? What do you like? What do you not like? And then start layering in. Doesn't have to be all at once. Layering in so that you're making sure your brand, your videos is supporting you, your vision, and that most importantly, you're reaching your ideal clients with that message and not just, you know, doing things haphazardly.
Okay. What's your feeling about scripts versus not scripts for when it comes to videos?
I think it really depends on what you're doing. So obviously, if you're live streaming, a script is not going to do you much good, because the whole point is that it's live, it's spontaneous, you're interacting with people who are showing up with viewers. For a video on a landing page on your website, that might be a good place, because you want it to be very thought out, and that messaging should be very carefully curated. So that's a really good place for script and for a teleprompter. So we use teleprompter in our business sometimes with our clients, especially for those website videos. And other than that, if, you know, for your video blog, excuse me, or your Facebook uploads, you know, sometimes I'll kind of split the difference and just make a few notes and put on a Post-it, like right by my camera, and just kind of go off of that. And that's usually enough for me. It's a lot based on the person. So if you're somebody who you're terrible, you just clam up when you're ad-libbing, you know, and you're improvising, that might do well for you. Other people, as soon as they read something, they just kind of freeze and they are wooden. So then that's not as good for you. So it's a little bit of is just like, you know, practicing and trying.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I did see something interesting on the topic of live streaming yesterday about the new vertical formats, the Facebook Live. I mean, I've always told people, if you're going to take things with your cell phone, hold it sideways, right?
Yep.
And that way you don't have the black bars on the side of your screen.
Exactly.
You will on YouTube, right? But a lot of people don't like to do that. They like to hold them this way when they're talking. Yeah. I think it was a company called Viral that had a post yesterday about becoming the YouTube of the vertical format.
Yeah, it is changing a little bit. And like with everything, the answer is always, it depends.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
So I've been telling people too that if you're taking a video with your phone and you want to post it to Facebook, that the horizontal format usually works better, because then you do get rid of those black bars. And the reason is it's closer to the aspect ratio that the image was meant to be shown in that format. However, with live streaming, it's usually a vertical format. So especially if you don't have an iPhone where the image will automatically adjust if you start horizontally, it's meant to be vertical, so keep it vertical. But the other thing, another issue, is that a lot of this is about trends. And because everybody's been doing horizontal, now it's sort of cool to do vertical. So it depends. I mean, for some, I've also read the argument that, say, for example, you're taking a video of a waterfall and it's a very long vertical image, that actually might be captured better vertically than horizontally. But if you're trying to get like a group of people on the same image, you might want to go horizontal. So again, it depends.
It depends. And I used to, people would say, John, what's the right strategy? And I'd say it depends. It's not the consultant's cop-out. It really does depend on what it is you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Well, Jeany, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How can people contact you if they want more information about what you do and what you might be able to do for them?
Absolutely. Well, they can go right to my website at compassrosevideo.com. And there's contact information on the website and a lot of information about our services. If you have a specific query, you can email me directly at Jeany, that's J-E-A, N as in Nancy, Y, at compassrosevideo.com. And also my website, if you contact me that way, my calendar link is right on there. So you can go ahead and schedule it yourself, a 30-minute session with me, and I'd be happy to help you start thinking about how to create your very own customized video marketing strategy.
Super. Let me ask a quick question because I'm always curious about this. The calendar that you have on your website, what application do you use for that?
I use Calendly.
Okay.
And I know that there's a number of them out there, but I find it fairly user-friendly.
Okay.
And there's different, we pay for our service, but I think there's a free option. So you can start out, just, test drive it and see if you like it.
So you like the idea of providing somebody with that free 30-minute consultation, really to find out whether or not you can do something for them and whether or not you really want to as well, right?
I do, and you'd think that, I would just be inundated with people all the time. But the truth is, a lot of people are so intimidated that they don't even necessarily, unless there's a real personal point of contact, like at a networking event. Like yesterday, I ended up with 12 different people who wanted to take advantage of that. But if they were just to go to my website and see that, they wouldn't necessarily sign up because it's intimidating. I think we're all afraid that somebody is going to go, shame on you, your videos aren't good enough, or shame on you, you haven't even started yet. And there's no reason for that. There's no reason. Not everybody has to use video.
Right.
And I know that that's going to seem shocking to other video marketers out there. But for some people, if they're doing great and they have a really well-established, podcast or blog, hey, if they've got enough clients, enough money, they might be okay without it. But for the rest of us who aren't quite there yet, or who want bigger, better, and want to just stay updated, you can always add video as a promotional piece to your podcast or blog. People think I'm going to say throw out the baby with the bathwater, but I really don't believe in that. I believe in how can I leverage this fun tool to be even more fabulous with my existing platforms.
All right. Well, super. Thank you again, Jeany, for joining us. For those of you who are watching the replay, we do have one more of sessions like this scheduled for next week on the 26th with Paul Economan, a writer who's going to be talking to us about using testimonials as part of your marketing strategy.
Cool.
I haven't made the slide for his broadcast yet because I'm waiting for a photograph from him, but that will be next Thursday, May 26th at 9 a.m. via the Zoom platform. Again, feel free at any time during one of these to set up Zoom on your own computer, set up your own free account, and log in and join us live and ask questions of me or our special guests each week. And we want to make sure that we provide you with the kind of content that's really going to be valuable to you. So thanks again, Jeany. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
All righty. We'll see you guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And please join us next week for another episode of Marketing Office Minutes.